is Patrick Sweeney, Behavioral Health Clinician at Westwood Mansfield Pediatrics, and I'm here to talk to you today about something that is very special to me in my line of work, and it is what I call tolerance training. I first developed this lesson of tolerance during part of my treatment with children with anxiety and depression, and with anger control problems. And one of the things that I noticed between all of them that they had in common was the child had an inability, or even at times a lack of self-confidence, to overcome some of these obstacles and these barriers. How I define tolerance is a person's ability to be able to handle things that are either unexpected, that we don't like, or that might make us nervous or uncomfortable. Or even a child said to me once, "Patrick, what about if you have to wait for something you want really badly right now?" And I said, sure, delayed gratification would also be another form of tolerance. Now, there's never a day that goes by that our tolerance isn't challenged in some way, shape, or form, and nobody is exempt from that at all. Now, the way to build your confidence is a very simple exercise, but it must be done so daily. I ask my parents and students to one time a day, usually around dinner time, to sit down and ask themselves, what did I tolerate today? What did I go through? Now, that can be anything. Okay, for younger children, sometimes it's taking a bath, eating a vegetable, having to go to bed, having to stop playing video games. For older kids, it might be having to get up to go to school, having to go run an errand with parents, having to go to a commitment that they may not personally enjoy. On the sports field, it may be a situation where your team's not doing well, or maybe perhaps you're not having your best performance. All of these are tolerance, but we also need to learn that when these times get tough, we can get through them. And knowing that we have tolerated so many things will only build our confidence towards more things. What I have found in parents and students is that we all too often, self-included at times too with my children, is that we often will point out very quickly when our children are not using tolerance. But it is in that same breath that we don't always do a great job of pointing out when our children do use tolerance. We often will take it for granted, we expect it, and that's fine, and I understand that. But in some students, in some individuals, recognizing their tolerance is very, very important to help build that skill. So the shift in thinking is not to necessarily point out what you're not doing, but what you are doing. And so if we start to point out that, hey, I've tolerated this and this and this and this, and I put up with this, and this was unexpected, and I handled this, we will begin to embed that into our thinking. And by doing so, when other things come down the road, we will be able to handle them. And the feedback that I've gotten from other parents is that it works very, very well. But the key is consistency. For some of my younger children, I would ask that you have maybe a calendar, and the child will write down what they tolerate for that particular day. I also want you to think about tolerance as being a life skill. And it is, in the sense that we will need to have tolerance for many things going forward in our lives. I always tell my students, if you're 10 years old, I would expect that you would have more tolerance than an 8-year-old. But I may not expect you to have as much tolerance as a 12-year-old. But I want to see you shift and start working in that direction. And while no child is perfect, nor an adult, it is very, very important that we, again, point out those things that we do demonstrate each day that will help build our ability to deal with our anxiety and depression and our confidence to overcome just about anything. We are not perfect people, but we can always get better at what we do. Nothing more gratifying than to see my students come in and share with me all the different things that they've been able to tolerate. And hearing the feedback from parents that's saying, geez, my son used to not be able to do this, or he would become very upset having to do these, and I don't see those meltdowns or that pushback anymore. And it's very gratifying. So get on board with tolerance training. Most of my patients that I see now all are familiar with it. Never a day should go by when we don't take a moment to pause and recognize how we tolerated things. And this will help with dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression, dealing with anger, and dealing with a multitude of other issues. It's also building a knowledge about yourself as well. And knowledge about yourself and confidence in yourself is going to help you be able to handle things better down the road. Thank you very much for your time today, and please keep in mind that this video is intended for Westwood Mansfield Pediatric patients only. Have a great day.